All right, we're live. That's what that little green, yellow thing up here means, and no one can see that because, it's not on their screens anyway. But hello and welcome to Australian Transformers Weekly. We are your first stop and your last best hope for Australian Transformers news. I did that joke last week. It's still in the run sheet. Oh well. This is episode 130. We are recording live on November 10th, not 20th, 10th, 2017. I don't even know what date it is. In this episode, we'll be talking about more Power of the Primes in package shots, Masterpiece Dinobot having a few feathers ruffled at its, causing a few feathers to be ruffled in the direction of its price, a new statue company on the block, because we love talking about statues, don't we, Brad? And we will shit on Machinima Titan's Return a little bit more. All that coming up and more. You can edit that. You're probably not going to. So, welcome to Australian Transformers Weekly. I'm Jason. Joining me this week, we have Max coming to us all the way from the middle of the country in Adelaide. How's it going, Max?
I'm going very well, thank you, Jason. How are you?
I'm not too bad. You appear to be shrouded in mystery again with your silhouette appearance. Slightly dark as opposed to the rest of your room there.
Well, it's because my lamp has broken again. I seem to be a recurring thing when it'd be like a couple days before a podcast, my bulb busts. So it's always good fun.
I'm gonna send you like $10 on PayPal to go to Kmart and get yourself a new lamp for your desk.
Just be because I work the day after a podcast, so they sell light bulbs there. And so it comes to Friday night, and the day after I have to go buy a light bulb.
Fantastic. So joining us also this week, we have Brad from his undisclosed location in country Victoria. How are you doing, Brad?
Everyone knows where I am. And for those playing at home, South Australia just bulldozed another power plant, so Max is trying to live off $2 eBay LED torches, and they're not working.
They don't actually have any worries at all as far as power goes. Elon Musk has decided to turn South Australia into a giant battery.
It's fine. We can buy it off Victoria and New South Wales if we need any. We don't need our own power stations.
I feel like you were trying to become the voice of South Australia there.
If it goes like anything else Elon Musk has done over the past few years, it'll fail spectacularly and waste a whole bunch of the government's money.
I don't know. I've got a Tesla dealership right opposite my work, and they seem to be doing a roaring trade.
Okay, anything remotely interesting Elon Musk does.
There's 9 Tesla recharging stations in front of my city council. I've never seen a single one being used.
That's great. You know what they're there for, right? They're not for the residents. They're for the people who are driving through your town.
Yeah, okay. If you want to get off the highway, fine.
Yeah, you have to get off the highway because they can't make it all the way to Melbourne.
Yeah, no angel gear.
Or wherever they're going. But they'll have to stop and appreciate the local scenery for a time. How are you going, guys? What have you been up to this week besides Tesla spotting and shitting on Elon Musk?
Oh, it's been a busy week. Some people had a short week. Unfortunately, the race that stops a nation does not stop a nation, so the rest of us had to work.
Guess what? No one on the podcast had Tuesday off. It's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
None of us are in Victoria. The one of us who is none of the other people on the podcast are in Victoria. The one of us, i.e., you, that is, didn't have the day off.
I raced home from work, wanted to get some parts for my car so I can go away this weekend. And I get to the door and find closed public holidays and realise, oh yes, of course, it's stretched this far north.
So look, we should explain for our few international listeners that Australia had a public holiday this week, or a public holiday or a bank holiday, Melbourne, as they sometimes called overseas. No, you're right. Sorry, yes, Melbourne had a public holiday on Tuesday for a horse race, and that horse race occurs between 3 o'clock and 3:05 p.m. on that day, but. If you're in Melbourne or if you're in Victoria, right, you get the day off.
Yeah, And let's just go a little bit deeper. The schools here decide to have Monday off, and then decide not to have schools open at all on a Tuesday as well. Whereas when I come to school
why would they open on the public holiday?
Because it's not a public. It's only metro area public holiday.
Well, that's what I just said. I said Victoria, and you said yes.
No, it's metro. It was supposed to be metro only, but now the shit's spreading. And back in my day, when I used to go to school in flip flops, you'd go to school until 3 o'clock. You'd watch the race, and you go home. Now the teachers just take a 4-day long weekend because they're teachers.
I gotta say, I went to school in Melbourne, and that never happened.
Okay. So anyway, the race continues to stop a nation, but it doesn't stop us from podcasting. So
seems like a nice segue into Max. What have you been up to this week?
Pretty much just exams. So
quick pop quiz. Did you watch the Melbourne Cup?
No, I did not watch the Melbourne Cup. To be honest, I don't know anyone who does.
We need someone from Melbourne on.
Look, I watched the Melbourne Cup. Everyone at work stopped and had a drink and stuff for about 10 or 20 minutes, and then went back to work.
Pop quiz. Mm-hmm. What horse won? I don't even know what won.
Rekindling.
What was the jockey's name?
I've got no idea.
Who called the race?
I don't care.
Again, it's an excuse to get on the piss, have a party.
Actually, you know what? I last year, this is riveting Transformers conversation. Last year, there was a massive number of photographs of drunk people like passed out everywhere in bins or whatever around the racecourse that hit Twitter and BuzzFeed and all that. I haven't seen anything like that this year. I haven't seen any stories about racegoers misbehaving.
Because
just cleaned up our act.
No, the self-esteem is a little bit higher where they just turn their phones off before they got pissed. It still happens.
They learned from last year and planned in advance.
Yeah. I've been sober. I can say it happens.
So, Max, you finished year 12.
Hey, yeah, that's fun. Now I've got bugger all to do for the next 3 months. So, that's fun.
Right.
And I saw 4, which was also fun.
Thor Ragnarok, I saw that this week as well. It was fantastic.
Probably the best Marvel movie from the MCU, at least. In my opinion.
I've heard tops of the tops of it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I feel like the cinema that I saw it in could probably have cranked the volume on the movie a little bit higher because it felt like some of the things that were meant to have a bit of an impact just didn't. So I was just like, what was that again? Maybe I'm just getting old. I don't know.
Oh no, that wasn't the thing. That was the plot.
Okay. Anyway,
I won't shit on it. Go.
There's enough shitting to be done. There's enough shitting to be done later on in the show. Let's get some things underway, shall we? So, Put Your Bot to Work Day is a recurring weekly competition in Transformers Collectors Club Australia's discussion group on Facebook. Each Wednesday in the Facebook group, there is a prize. There's not a prize. There's a post in which everyone can enter for the week's competition. And occasionally, everyone who's won thus far is entered in for a prize at the end of the year. Apparently, there is a prize. Brad, have you announced the prize yet?
Yes. But for those playing at home and not watching the... I'll get this open again. The pre-show done on the group.
That's probably good because if you've downloaded the podcast, then you wouldn't have.
Yeah. Toy World Sea Spray.
Nice.
Masterpiece Sea Spray, Masterpiece styled figure. This guy is heavier than Masterpiece Shockwave. And he's got a nice bottom, underside, I should say, with only 4 screw holes. Aerodynamics.
So was that you were checking out the bottom screws on Sea Spray? Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, because we got to do an underbot shot, and there is no underbot. There's just a nice bottom of a hovercraft. So that is the prize.
What you expect of a hovercraft, right? So this week's winner goes into hot contention for possibly one of the most popular images of the year. And you will see why in a second when Brad re-enables my presentation.
It should be.
No, you just ended it. There we go. So Hayley Anderson is well known to do a bit of everything. Actually, she does some modeling, she does some music stuff. So she very kindly graced us with this shot where she took. Is that Hot Toys Prime?
That is the Hot Toys Optimus Prime.
The Hot Toys Optimus
that's the only
Prime.
issue with a picture.
Yeah.
Why
Minus
is that an
the
issue with
Starscream
it's
parts.
not actually a Transformer?
It's a
The
robot.
issue in that it's like $400 and makes no sense, but that's besides the point.
This is true. This is true. Clearly, the first thing people see when they look at this picture is Hot Toys Optimus Prime. And then very quickly after that, they do notice, you are correct, Max, he is missing the Starscream parts. We're not entirely sure what's going on there, but it is a massive, massive oversight. And yeah, look, the judges were called in to see whether or not this image would be allowed to make it through to the rest of the competition. They did confer. They spent a long time conferring over this image. Actually, we were a little bit worried that they might not actually come back, and but come back they did, and they decided yes, the image is valid, and then they went off and talked about it some more. We're not really sure why, but they came back and said the image is valid and it's won.
Yep. And we got
what was the margin, Brad?
She got 23. The next one down was 13. But there was 3 people between 11 and 13. Thank you, Astro Train. There was 3 people between 11.
Even the passing trains appreciate Hayley's image.
Yeah. Yeah. Hayley's a 4th generation member of the club, and she's wearing one of the early shirts there, which I'll send her a link so we can update that. But
you may need to get her a slightly larger shirt. Like it just doesn't look like it covers everything that it should.
It was a contentious post. She did post this up during the week and was recommended to post up for Take Your Bot to Work, which put the fear into a lot. But we did have a good turnout. We had the most likes in any of the Take Your Bot to Work, Put Your Bot to Work posts. But that might have been people just double posting, which won't happen next year, I can assure you. All right.
Thank you, Hayley. And we are going to move on to some news.
Sort of.
Shit guns at the ready. We're going to talk about Machinima's Titans Return. I believe we coined the phrase Machinima last year for Combiner Wars. It may be making a comeback. The Titans Return trailer is now online. It came out a couple of days ago. Features Metroplex and Trypticon going against each other. No real surprise there. Also features a few revelations about Trypticon's possible origins in the Titans Return series, being that he appears to be Starscream.
I love it when they decide to spoil things in a trailer. It just means you're going in there.
Oh yeah.
You could look at it objectively.
It's not the spoiler.
It's just
Max, it's not the spoiler. That's like the reason I'm face palming. The reason I'm face palming is because of what actually was revealed.
That I can't take an issue with you on that.
We commented last week why Ray Romano's brother's Dick Curly Hair, whatever his name is, couldn't be the voice actor of Trypticon in this series. Now we know why they didn't go back to the original series, because oh no, we have a lesser Starscream voice actor that is going to be the reincarnation of Starscream embodying Trypticon.
So early on in the trailer, Perceptor examines Starscream's remains and says something is very, very strange. And then there's a rapid fire series of cuts, and then suddenly Trypticon appears and Metroplex starts doing battle with him. And that is at least as far as the trailer goes. It's very, very concerning for me personally, because later in the trailer, It's kind of funny. You've got it's sort of like you've got Optimus Prime and Megatron just sort of standing on the sidelines, quipping at each other, and they're just standing there looking at presumably Metroplex and Trypticon fighting. And Prime says to Megatron when he says like, "This is chaos on a level that none of us have ever seen before." And I'm like, Prime, do you remember that time Megatron brought Cybertron to Earth and nearly destroyed the planet?
Again, this is not focusing or recognizing anything that's come before.
So this is something that someone actually said to me when I said this on Twitter. They said, if it's not explicitly stated that this is a sequel or a follow-up to G1, it's in a different universe. So Megatron never apparently nearly destroyed Earth in this universe.
But didn't Prime build Metroplex? Don't they know? Haven't the Titans ever existed before? Obviously not. We get a couple of the combiners back here again, which yay.
The way you're speaking, Brad, it sounds like you're expecting something to make sense.
I'm just trying. I'm not trying to shit on it. I'm trying to be open.
You tortured yourself this week by watching Combiner Wars.
Oh.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. At the end of Combiner Wars, did they not look up to the stars where like some bright stuff had appeared and they said, "Oh, the Titans have returned"?
It was either Prime or Windblade said the Titans are coming.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The red keeps coming.
Yeah. Guess what? They appear to be below their feet. Yeah. They're not coming from up high.
Well, that's, even Trypticon just seems to and appear like there's flames above him, and he's there and just I don't. The animation. No, rephrase that. The character models I absolutely love. Everything looks crisp. It looks fantastic until they move, and then like half a dozen. It looks worse than a bloody cutscene from Tomb Raider 1. Like, it just...
I thought, this is the thing, right? It looks basically like it's a really big computer game cutscene.
Yeah.
But it was like from 1998 or something like that. And it's like when someone walks across the room, it's like they haven't bothered to actually match their feet to the floor, and so they end up sort of like moonwalking.
Yeah. Yeah, we see Hot Rod's back. Oh, it's actually Rodimus. It's not Hot Rod, which... Okay. He's got his arm back on, so... Some time has passed.
Right, he's armless.
Yeah. No sign of Windblade's magic saber that can cut through God.
Combiners.
But, all those combiners she cut in half her back, so I don't know what happened there. Yeah, I said this before when I'd done the live stream on the group. It's supposed to be something new, even advertising the current releases. Yet you've got a G1 looking Trypticon and not the Titans Return looking Trypticon. We've now had a third Leader or Voyager Prime release, yet we're still looking at the G1 Prime, whereas Megatron's still the Combiner Wars Prime. And just... I don't know what... Yeah. I don't know what they're trying to do. I don't know what the purpose of this is at all. I think we've all pretty much agreed whatever cartoon, whatever comic ideas they're trying to pull are failing big time.
This is not from a comic anymore.
Okay, yeah, and I'm not gonna bring. I'm just using that as an example. I'm not gonna shit on the comics. This is what you get when you want comics on TV.
Someone make a note. Make a note. November 10th. It's 9:43 p.m. Brad did say he's not going to shit on the comics.
for this. It's
going into the history books. But look, confidence level I don't think is very high. Max, how are you feeling about Titan's Return?
I might be excited if it had at least 30 frames a second.
Why? What is it?
It's not that.
What?
It's like,
is it 8?
Something like that.
Oh.
It's worse than some stop motions I've seen, that's for sure.
There's a couple of cuts where you see the bots from above. It looked like the frame actually goes backwards. It there's a missile or something launched. And it jumps back and there.
Yeah, I don't think the preview was very well cut together. I will say that. And I didn't think the frame rate was especially a problem with Combiner Wars, so I don't know, but you got to wonder why they would let that go out like that, right?
Well, it all depends on like the animation frame rate, if it's been properly synced. I don't know, whatever happens there, but
it's all digital. There's no syncing or anything that has to happen. It's just it seemed like a really poor frame rate. Anyway,
my single worst issue with this is it's going to be an hour and a half long or whatever the runtime is.
I remember going into the original Combiner Wars series, we were all disappointed at how short it was before it came out. Now this is coming, and we want it to be over.
This will be interesting. First episode does come out November 14th, which should be like Tuesday, Wednesday morning. It'll probably be like Wednesday morning our time.
You might have to turn post approval on for that day.
I doubt it. All right. Shall we?
Play nice, guys. We'll talk about it next week. I'm sure we'll love it. Sort of.
Let's move on. Power of the Primes is gearing up to hit US retail. There is likely to be a few figures make it out in time for Christmas, according to an update from Robot Kingdom this week. And we are starting to see some in-package images for some of the figures. So first up, we have very handily named Dinobot Grimlock. Thanks, guys. Who we've seen his poster art before, although his artwork's actually truncated slightly on the packaging. So the one that we showed on the podcast a few weeks ago, maybe go back and grab that if you're a fan of the if you're a fan of the figure or a fan of the design. He looks very much like Grimlock, but he also looks very much like a 2015, 16, 17 Combiner torso.
Yeah,
he's just got those slightly off proportions that it's like all the basic details are there, but it's just like some things are too big, some things are too small, and it's just a whole bunch of little bits like that that make it look way off.
Yeah, what a shame. He does look I don't mind his look, but there are just some parts. It's like the longer you look at it, the more you're like, hang on a minute, something's not quite right.
Oh no!
What's wrong, Brad?
Tell us why. I really do not want to look at that robot mode. That's fine. The Dino mode's fine, except for the combiner port at the end of the tail, which just there's probably one on the other side too. Yeah, there is. We talked when we seen the production photos coming out with the gold and what may be a clear coating over the gold, which in Dino mode Dino mode, it definitely looks like there's a clear coating over gold paint.
On his
but if
neck,
you go back to but look at where the Autobot symbol is on his doodle.
You
can sort of see that thing, but there it doesn't look like it at all. But
no, you actually can sort of see it on that.
Oh, I can see it on the hinge. Yeah, that torso is just. These are not Generations figures at all. This is Times Return. No, they're not. They are not. This does not match the Generations line at all.
Sorry, but there you go. It's a Generations figure.
No. I'll
it's
get my
right
black
there
text
on the top right of the box.
I'm going to go into my local Target. I'm going to get my black text and I'm going to scrub them all out.
And when you do that, someone in the toy section is just going to be like, "Are you that fucking guy who keeps dropping TCCA cards in our stock?"
Sticking stickers to everything, we can't peel them off.
Times Return, Power of the Primes, Grimlock is a what's the phrase I'm looking for? A suspiciously regarded wait and see.
Yeah,
these Dinobots were the only thing I was interested in this line, apart from Hot Rod, and expectation is dropping. No,
not this guy. Not interested in Evolution Optimus Prime.
No, because without that chest, if you want a Orion Pax, this torso is useless.
Of course they are. That's the point of the Evolution gimmick.
Unless you buy two.
But that's the evolution gimmick. All the leader classes have them now. It's the latest in thing.
Yeah, fine. I've got MP10.
I will say the Prime though. It's like I suspect it won't do too well because it's just another Prime. But compared to Grimlock and Rodimus, that looks just amazing.
I'm glad it comes with a G1 accurate
Rodimus. I like Rodimus. I think his arms look weird. Like not his arms, but his shoulder.
Yeah, like that's the fact that his shoulder joint is attached to his neck. It's weird. Yeah.
That's the engineering for the Winnebago mode though, and to incorporate the car, because it's not like Prime where the cab can just become the cab, or however that works. Oh, did you get that, Max?
Yep. Never mind.
Jason's
I think Jason's left us.
Still here.
Okay, do it again because you went.
So, Max, buying any of these?
Nah. Like that Prime looks good, but as I said, it is just another Prime.
The stickers on his shoulders look a little bit lackluster. It's almost like someone's just like, we've got some stickers that we can put on here. Like they're leftovers from some other smaller figure. They're like, do they fit on his shoulders? Nah, not really. Fuck it, let's do it anyway.
Well, we said it last week. Stickers. It's this.
No. I mean, the size of the Autobot stickers are pretty small.
Yeah, but even their sides look like they're peeling.
They do, don't they?
We seen the Starscream last week. It's just the stickers, even though they're applied, have already started coming off as photos being taken. It's just.
I didn't really see that in the Starscream. I thought the stickers looked like they'd been pretty well applied on Starscream.
Oh no, I thought there was some curl on the sides. Might not have been, but just paint it on. Paint it.
Wait and see.
Yeah. I'm losing. I'm going to get Rodimus for the young fella to play with, and just as a curiosity piece. But
let's move on. We've also seen some Wave 1 Legends in package for the first time. So we've got Windcharger here, the female Dinobot Slash, and Beachcomber. Now, the Generations series for the last few years has had a pretty good game in the Legends scale, and I think that's set to continue with these guys. Like, I'm genuinely happy with them. I'm less taken by Slash because I don't like have any frame of reference for the character, but Beachcomber and Windcharger look fantastic. And apparently we are expecting to see these guys on shelves by about February.
The way I'm seeing this Titan, this Power of a Primes line is the stuff like the Leaders and the Voyagers, where the stuff that they do is very line specific in terms of whether they interact with each other. That's getting a lot of less warm reception. But the stuff like the Legends and Deluxes, which is a lot more in keeping with what the Generations line has been for the past couple of years, that's all still being really well received.
Yeah. I do have a question in here on the run sheet to ask. What is your feeling on Power of the Primes? I think Brad's made his position fairly clear on it. How do you feel about it, Max?
Like I said, I think the stuff that is oriented towards a gimmick of Power of a Prime specifically, I don't think is looking all that promising. But the stuff like the Legends and a couple of the Deluxes that are still in this really the same vein as the figures we've been getting for the past couple of years, without necessarily tying into the gimmick of Power of the Primes, I think those look a lot better.
Yeah, I think that sounds fair. I'm actually not really planning on buying any of Power of the Primes. Like, I need to stop buying a lot of stuff, but especially the last few weeks, I've just been. I haven't had many figures for the whole year, and just the last few weeks, I've just got figure. But like, yeah, I'm not really planning to get any of the Power of the Primes. Like, I don't need that Optimus. I don't need that Rodimus. We'll see what happens when they come down to $29 at Target on a mistaken price drop. But the Legends guys do look really good, but they're $20, and I'm not sure that I think they're worth $20 as well.
Yeah, well, and I guess the thing is, they've been $20 for the past few years, but since Combiner Wars, they stopped coming with any accessories. So they've actually dropped the amount of money that's going into the figure, but we're still paying $20 for it.
Yeah, well, look, plastic is expensive. I mean, there's plastic is actually the amount of plastic that goes into a figure is affected by the price of oil when it comes down to it, and so everything's getting more expensive, and so you can expect to either see less stuff packed in or more. I guess if we flip back to look at Grimlock, right, you're going to see more cases of this where like the arms have these hollow parts in them that they're designed to sort of flesh out the size, but they're not using that much plastic to make it. And for one thing, it keeps the weight of the figure down, but it also means they don't use as much plastic to make it, so it's cheaper for them to manufacture, and they can keep the figure at the price points that we're used to. Yeah. It's just a bit of a shame. It's a bit of a shame when it comes to figures like this. Like this Beachcomber looks fantastic, but if you like twirl his legs over just a little bit to the inside, you're going to see that those legs are hollow.
But then you got to look at the other thing too, is you're not going to get a repaint out of this Beachcomber. Maybe Windcharger will be tailgate. Is that no? That's
maybe
Camaro. But just at least these Legends figures still sort of fit that generation's feel. Has it been, apart from the Insecticons, maybe one or two being a repaint of past releases, has there been a bad Legends figure? Wheelie didn't really peg together all that well, but apart from that,
he still looked great.
Yeah,
basically.
And actually, Wheelie is actually a figure that hasn't been repainted.
No, none apart from the.
So they did a repaint of Powerglide. They did Windcharger, his old version. They did a repaint of one of the Insecticons. So like, they're definitely happening.
Yeah, but the Viper repaint is probably a more sought after figure than the Powerglide. Like,
I don't know if that's really true these days.
Yeah, well, back then. But,
and like, you can easily do like a green Beachcomber and make him a G2 or something like that.
Yeah, and maybe the worst Legends figure we've gotten would have been that Windcharger and Tailgate mold. But even then, that's a bad figure by the current standards. If we look at it in terms of Legends from before this sort of reboot of the line, that's above and beyond anything else.
Yeah,
true. And that figure is actually from before. His Combiner Wars release was not the first release of that mold.
You know what I mean? I mean, like, since they sort of rebooted Legends in Thrilling 30 and started giving them more post-building and what have you.
Yeah.
Plus, they've all got the ability to have a Titan Master drive them, which is just, yes, they don't come with a Titan Master, but there's that many of the little head guys out there at the moment. It's a pilot, so.
I think it's interesting that Takara, when they package these guys, they do actually put a Titan Master in there, possibly just to keep the price of it a little bit higher.
Well, it's naturally higher, but yeah.
All right, let's move on. There's something else. There's something else in our near future, as far as news goes, that is sure to ruffle feathers and make people annoyed. It's this dude. Takara this week. Actually, I don't think Takara actually announced this, but it has come out this week that Masterpiece MP41 will be another Beast Wars figure. It is going to be Dinobots, and he's pretty much going to be one of the most expensive masterpieces ever. He's expecting to fetch 28,000 yen, which is about $250 US. That is right up there as far as masterpiece prices go. One of our local retailers has it up for $269, and so it's got collectors wondering what exactly is the figure's scale going to be. Is there going to be a large number of accessories that make the figure more expensive than even Megatron recently? And just what is the deal?
Yeah, honestly, regardless of how the justification for pricing eventuates, I honestly think that the price they've gone to is just fucking inexcusable. It's ridiculous.
Let's go through some let's go through some things. Like, so Cybertron has said that they found a Chinese language post written on the TFND Facebook page that says Masterpiece Dinobot will have a fully posable raptor mode. It'll have beast mode eyes that can be changed, sculpted scales under a layer of printed texture all throughout the beast mode body. So that's gonna be a very expensive finish on the figure. Robot mode is going to be bigger and broader than Optimus Primal. His hand can hold both of these weapons. The tail shield spins, and he also comes with 2 extra faces, and he'll have 2 different colored eyepieces to be used with a light up feature that allows you to replicate the little laser beams that we're looking at on screen at the moment. And he will come with a gold disc accessory and a base that can be used in both modes. Brad, you joked that the gold disc accessory is real gold, and that hence the price of the figure. But like, this is a pretty impressive list of things to go into a Masterpiece figure. Like, I kind of feel like the character deserves it as well, because there's so many unique touch points for the figure. But I also kind of feel like aren't they like a year late in announcing this? Like, this should have been the triumphant 30th anniversary for Beast Wars. This shouldn't be the year after. By the way, it's due for June 2018 release.
Yeah, they don't care.
They've at least announced it during the 30th anniversary year.
Yeah. We'll get it out next year. If this thing comes with a set of green eye beams attached to its head,
I think he lights up.
Oh.
I'm not a Beast Wars person. Brad, are you excited about the possibility of getting such a big, detailed Beast Wars Masterpiece figure?
You do need to look deeper into it. I've crapped on Ironhide and Ratchet of having the sled, 17 tools and fixtures and all that crap just to have it above $100. Hot Rod having all those accessories when I just wanted the fishing rod. It's going to have accessories. Whether those accessories add to the price much or not, it remains to be seen. The engineering for this guy is definitely something that's not going to be reused from a previous figure. Like, it's a completely new mold. They've had to do the engineering.
Well, by all accounts, he's probably one of the larger Masterpiece figures. So yes, he's definitely a new mold.
Yeah, and we've seen people have been posting comparison photos during the week of where he sort of stands with Primal, and that he should be a little bit larger. Again, there's some inconsistencies there, just like G1, it happens.
Well, according to the TFND poster, yes, he is going to be bigger and broader than Primal.
But I fear he's got to do more than Primal too. Like, there's a lot of different things he has to do to get from that Dino mode into robot mode.
Well, indubitably, but like, this is the thing with beast formers, right?
Yeah, but then you got to say, right, he's $250. Well, that's what MP10 is, and he's got a trailer. So, yeah, I don't.
But it's MP10 marked up prices, and that's this guy's regular price in USD as well.
Well, what's the higher? Star Saber was about 230. 240, or not even that.
Well, I don't know. I feel like you can get Star Saber
retail
200 easily
when it came out.
Yeah, even when it came out, I felt like you could get it for that sort of a price. I could be totally wrong.
Yeah.
So has there been something worth more than this yet? There hasn't, has there?
I actually think no. So, Brad, you said he's the most expensive Masterpiece Beast Wars figure. I actually think he's the most expensive Masterpiece.
Yeah. Again, if there's a nice little mint pressed gold coin he comes with as the golden coin, it'd be fantastic. And not a painted.
So I have a question for you. How much is too much for a Masterpiece figure?
Well, I'll always complain that 14 accessories could have been cut just to have the figure $50 cheaper or something, but collectors want those accessories to pose with their figures.
I kind of feel like all the accessories in Masterpiece figures are a newer thing, like a more recent thing, and it's kind of a response to the fact that third-party figures have a lot of accessories now.
Yeah, yep. And we've seen, okay, maybe the cone heads weren't expensive when they were released by Takara Tomy Mold, but in re-release or in the second-hand market, they have skyrocketed, and they can say, right,
yeah. So I like as someone who has cone heads for sale at the moment as well. Like, I had to pay to get them here from Japan. Like, it's actually kind of expensive.
Yeah. Yep. So,
all right. So let's move on. We don't really have an answer for how much is too much for a Masterpiece figure.
It's a fantastic character, and I need to have it. I want to have it, and I'll be paying that money to buy it. I know you put it on lay-by this week.
Max?
Nah, well, my thoughts on Beast Wars, and that price is just inexcusable in my regard.
Now, tell me, have any of you guys ever gone into a comic shop and purchased some of the Kid Robot vinyl figures?
I've no idea what those are, so
there these. I don't think I've got any of them left here, but there were these figures that they sort of had like comically oversized heads for the characters. The company who makes them, Kid Robots, they are doing a series of. They're not actually necessarily figures; they're just sort of like more pins and collectibles and stuff, based on the Transformers versus G.I. Joe IDW comic series. Now, I don't know. I was going to say I don't know if either of you have read the comics. I know Brad hasn't. Max, have you read the Transformers G.I. Joe comics?
No, I've read some current crossovers between the two, but the actual dedicated series I haven't read.
So the actual dedicated series is absolutely, utterly, delightfully bonkers. It's kind of like a kid playing with their toy set and just chopping and changing the narrative all the time. It is pretty amazing, and so I feel like it's pretty amazing to see these guys come up like this. And I'm actually just wondering, like with Transformers and G.I. Joe, there, I'm actually wondering, looking at the boxes, whether it might. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that's based on the IDW one and not the Devil's Due one as well, which sort of goes the other way. But yeah, so there's a couple of pins there: Starscream, Bumblebee, Grimlock, and Megatron. There's a few other pins shown in one of the pictures. There's a little skateboard deck, and yeah, so they're all blind bagged. You can get whatever figure in whatever box you get. So these guys are coming out towards the end of the year, and they're usually priced. So if you see them at the counter at the comic book shop, you'll just be like, yeah, I'll hand over like $7 or $8 and get a random Transformer piece inside it. We'll see how it goes.
What's with the Will and Wallace Starscream face? Is that something from the comics?
I don't actually know. I haven't read the comics, but yeah.
Almost looks like a deconstructed face or something. Anyway, yeah, he might be missing. What if you lost a face?
It is possible. Some other news before we move on to some statue stuff. This one came up during the week. I thought this was a little bit interesting because we noticed with Age of Extinction that there was a greater focus put on China and Chinese settings, namely Hong Kong, in Age of Extinction. And Paramount has been working with this Chinese company called Wawa Media for a couple of years now in financing some of their production. And the news came out this week that that partnership is kaput. They are not happy about their return on investment in their figures. And we spent a long time talking about the last night's box office returns and takings earlier this year. And yeah, it seems like these guys might have been paying a little bit closer attention to the box office takings than even we were. So effective immediately, that co-financing deal is off, and Paramount will have to go and find other financing for their figures. And it's interesting that Hasbro has also signed up with Paramount for, I think it was a 5-year deal for turning toys into movies. It emerged this week. So maybe Hasbro's going to be financing some of their own movies. We'll see.
I find it... Oh, I was just going to quickly say that I find that Paramount's chairman and CEO is Jim Giannopoulos. I wonder if he's a relation to the Melbourne Wog Boy.
Okay.
That's a 1996 reference.
No, we got it. We just didn't think it was very good.
Oh.
Max.
This is why I'm buying a tuber.
Yeah, this is... It's worrying because there was, for a while, everyone was so sure that, okay, Transformers is going to do incredibly well in China and that we're going to have this sort of renaissance of a franchise where China just funnels billions of dollars into it. And between this and the last night's performance, it's worrying to see that might actually not eventuate.
Remind me what China had to do with the last night, though. Like Age of Extinction, we went to Hong Kong.
Oh, so just because you have Chinese money in terms of making the figure doesn't mean that they have to see you go and film in China. It did mainly drive some of the so China drove a lot of the financial success of Age of Extinction, possibly because they actually did film part of it in China and they didn't with the last night. But it's purely a financing thing. Like they're not coming in and going, you must visit Hong Kong if you're going to use our money.
No, but it was implied. That whole Lockdown Prime fight was implied over there, although you could see the Sears Tower in the background, which production snafu. That's the thing, though. It was implied KSI had their China base and went over there for the last act, but the last night didn't. Apples. Don't know. There was nothing there.
Yeah, there was Chinese product placement, which apparently audiences in China audibly laughed at in the cinema.
Because it was seen in England.
Yeah, that's the thing. So that's all the Chinese relation that was actually in there. And then they cut that out of the DVD release.
Yeah. Here's something. Have 2 to 5 minutes of the Dinobots wreaking havoc in some Chinese botanical gardens while they're trying to get them on the ship to take them to something.
Sorry, I'm just trying to shut down something that's showing notifications over my screen while my cat is sitting on my mouse.
That'll do it.
Right, sorry.
It's been one of those weeks for studios going at each other, so hey.
Why? What else has been going on?
Well, there's been that clickbaity thing about Hasbro buying Takara or something.
Oh yeah, sure. In fact, I'm surprised that didn't make it into the run sheet tonight. So yeah, it's sort of it's a resurrection of a story that came out around June. That Hasbro is apparently interested in purchasing Takara, and of course people are running around like the sky is falling, going, oh my god, Hasbro can't own Takara. Shit. They are losing their shit without realizing the fact that both companies work really closely together already on this franchise, and it's really not going to change anything if that happens.
Yeah. When it happens, we'll report.
All right. Let's move on to some fun stuff.
For me, yay.
A new statue manufacturer in China has popped up with possibly the most hilarious name of a statue manufacturer ever. I'm actually not sure whether or not they thought they needed to name their company after the material that they're using, or I guess they're not using titanium, are they? But the statue company is called Titanium Alloy. Their first statue is a Fall of Cybertron-esque, I guess, Optimus Prime figure measuring 30 inches tall. There is some speculation that it may not be officially licensed yet because there are no Autobot symbols on him, but damn, he looks nice. And we do know that Hasbro does often license Transformers likenesses to statue manufacturers, so there's a high likelihood that this will end up being an officially licensed product. There's your rear shot, Brad.
Not a single screw in. Start. Happy.
Yeah,
love those bullet.
Bloody well hope so.
Yeah, I love those bullet effects. I just love the bullet effects on figures.
I'm not personally that interested in the statue, but I appreciate their presentation more. Like the presentation and like the graphic effects make this figure look utterly badass.
Yeah, it looks cool. Be great if it could do something.
Oh, it does. It's doing something right there, like that hip placement and hip thrust.
It's clearly doing something just by sitting there. I'm going to let you two argue this out for a minute.
Okay. The it's funny. We production note. We've stopped using other sites for news and just gone solely for TFW because they've normally been pretty on par with writing their news stories. However, the title for this news story was New War Within statue, which this is not War Within. This is clearly Fall of Cybertron. But I just love the Fall of Cybertron, War for Cybertron aesthetic. This is how G1 should have been before the Ark crashed on Earth, and I love these bots. I haven't got the Planet X Prime as much as I'd love to. I've got the official one from Hasbro. I can have that transform into a truck if I need be.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's really at least grabbing me about this is how different proportionally he looks from between the front and back shots. Like when you're looking at him front on, he does seem to have that really chunky Fall of Cybertron aesthetic. But in the shots where you're looking at him from the back, he just looks a lot more sleek and sort of, I don't know, animation styled, I guess.
I'm going to say he's smaller than what he should be.
Yeah.
Just he's too, again, it's that whole humanoid look and aesthetic. A really tiny hips and waist.
Yeah.
The shoulders are way too big, but that's only so they can repaint into Magnus. That's the only reason. That's it.
That's a child.
Holy shit! He's 78 centimeters tall.
He's a statue, of course he is.
Yeah, but that's bigger than Prime. I'll rethink those words and report next week. But still, it's just.
I'll be back in a minute.
Bye.
Yo. Yeah, he's got enough different color in him.
Yeah, he just looks
like I was saying, presentation wise, I think they've done an utterly amazing job. Just look at the lighting behind this guy. You can see that there's a blue light sort of coming at him from the rear. It looks fantastic. I'm actually just wondering, is the smoky effect is actually only on that one image. So yeah, they've done a good job of sort of composing. It is never going to look this good in your lounge room, but right here, it looks amazing. You know what? They'd be better off just producing like wallpapers for your phone.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah, even just the images here, it looks like animation accurate enough that you could basically just use that as your wallpaper.
Yeah, it does, right?
Except no axe.
Yeah, that is the thing. Who knows? They don't even know if it's if it's licensed or not yet. So a lot of the statues seem to have swappable accessories and what have you. So I'm guessing that you might be able to pull the hands out and throw in like a pose or something like that.
Yeah, that last shot looks like a prototype, whereas this looks like a CG model. That last shot, that looks like it's real.
That?
Yeah.
This one that you're looking at now with his feet?
Yeah. That looks like a real...
This looks like CG.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right. It looks CG. Like look at where the base is on the ground. Like it just looks like it's rendered.
There's shadow there though.
That doesn't mean anything. There's shadow, but it's really small, and so like it sort of would imply there's a lot of light, but there's a lot of light that's missing from behind it.
Okay.
I know. I actually am wondering if all of these are CG.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
if they haven't even got their website up yet for their company, it's sort of, this is just proof of concept to say this is what we're going to do.
Yeah, see, this looks CG rendered from here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that does.
Interesting approach with the sort of smokestacks. I don't recall them ever being gold before.
They weren't that big either. The whole top of the shoulder is way out of proportion than what it should have been. Or what it was, I should say. Again, whether that's just so they can incorporate a Magnus repaint, I don't know, but even Magnus wasn't that shoulder stacky.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Shall we move on? Got a couple of little figures to look at before we finish up.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we wanted to have a bit of a look back at some of the figures from the Singapore. What was it? Singapore Games and Comics. Was it Shanghai? It's not Singapore. You said it was Singapore earlier.
Yeah, I know. I got it wrong.
You literally said it.
No, and I got it wrong.
So there's an expo in Shanghai a couple of weeks ago, and while the photographs from that expo have been around for a while, there were a couple of things that we wanted to particularly draw some attention to. So Brad is quite into this Unique Toys Bruticus combiner, and apparently this was derived from a design that was originally intended to be Bruticus for Toy World, but that didn't end up happening. And so because Unique Toys hasn't had to do much of the design work, the figures have ended up quite cheap. So we'll see how that goes. He's an impressive looking figure, and he's pretty tall, especially compared to that Iron Factory Seeker next to him. That could be a DX9, but
that's like a Reveltech Thundercracker.
Is that? Looks like it's a.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, you're right.
I see repainted Reveltech Starscream.
No, there's actually a company that's been doing sort of like their own Reveltech style figures for a few years now, but they're not that easy to get a hold of outside of China.
I didn't know they did Seekers though.
Well, they might have. Like, who can tell? We haven't looked at them in a while. But either way, these guys, those that's a pretty small figure standing next to it. So it just sort of goes to show how big this guy is as well. He's got enormous shoulders. This is what.
Yeah, the whole G1 thing where the space shuttle is the same size as a helicopter. Being a masterpiece scaled figure, you'd think that they'd sort of compact.
I don't know, how are they going to fix that?
Just fold the chopper tail down around the side or something in the front of the. I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I can see why Toy World was like, yeah, nah.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Apparently the fires in that aren't part of the transformation with Onslaught. They're actually
additional pieces.
Yeah, additional pieces. Just so you don't have that extra torso complexity of the Onslaught figure. But at least the head looks decent.
I'll tell you what, I'm looking up on my shelf at the moment. I can see a Combiner Wars G2 Bruticus, and I can see the oversized Jinbao Bruticus. I don't need another one. I don't care about this.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't understand this third-party trend if everyone does the same thing at once. I just don't see how it's profitable. I mean, it must be to some extent because they keep on doing it. But
I kind of feel like there's a bit of an effort not to in the last 6 months or so. But like generally, what ends up happening, we have it on authority from some people who claim to know these things, is that the companies will go out and say, right, we want to do Bruticus, and they'll ask a few designers to sort of submit almost a tender or a proposal for doing Bruticus. They'll choose one, and the other guys will go shop them around at other companies, and so that's how they all end up doing the same thing at the same time.
Mm.
Yeah, so there are sort of freelance designers, because often you'll see things labeled as like Cassie Sark or Black Apple and whatever you, and regardless of the company. So like you'll see Cassie Sark uploaded some stuff the other day, but it wasn't linked to Mastermind Creation. So it's basically saying, hey, I'll sell this to someone else. So there is sort of like a bit of a freelance nature to it.
I think there has to be, like, these companies can't afford to pay people a wage to sort of stay there and work for them all year round. So, you know, it's very much a the lead time that each of these figures requires to manufacture means that there's going to be downtime, right?
Mm.
So yeah, let's move on. We've had a bit of a look at that guy. Max, you wanted to talk about this guy. This is what did you say? It was Road? Was he Road?
Rolling Thunder.
Rolling Thunder. Prime. Sorry, that's right. Yeah,
from TFC.
Rolling Thunder Optimus Prime.
So I think this is just interesting because it looks like a pretty good figure, but it's a matter of also just where this is coming from. So a few years back, Don Figueroa, who did art for IDW, made a design of Optimus Prime that turns into the Rolling Thunder, which is a vehicle from G.I. Joe, and now TFC is reproducing it as this figure here.
I tell you what, if you've done any Transformers art on the internet, sooner or later, someone in China is going to pick it up and go, I can make a toy of that.
Pretty much, yeah. It seems to be that case recently. It's just absolutely everything's coming out on the market.
Is this a no faceplate Prime? Is that a smile I can see?
Not sure.
Yeah,
maybe.
That does look strange. Maybe it's a swappable thing, or
it might be just a plastic. Yeah, it's a beefy bot. Like it's got some mass.
He actually looks quite impressively proportioned, like properly coloured and everything. This should be quite good.
Yeah. Apparently they're doing a one version done up in Optimus Prime colours and another version in green camo, which is like the colour of the original G.I. Joe toy.
I did see pretend digibash of that actually.
Yeah, someone posted up during the week.
I wasn't actually sure what it was at the time, but yeah.
Fully articulated fingers. All the better for grabbing you, Barbara.
Where's Barbara?
Don't know.
He's coming to get you, Barbara.
Let's move on. So there was also so Max, you were quite interested in the Iron Factory figures, and rightly so. When we were talking about these last week with I think because we had Chris on last week, we were saying that the Iron Factory figures, like, they look really impressive and stuff. I've just never quite been able to bring myself to pull the trigger on buying a lot of them, and it's kind of weird because I've ended up with a lot of DX9 figures as a result of that. Sort of, what is going on?
Something.
I didn't mute.
No, you didn't.
There we go.
So we were saying with Chris last week that a lot of the like, there's a lot of really impressive Iron Factory figures, but I find myself when I'm looking at them, I'm just like, I can't bring myself to just quite spend, $30, $40, $50 on something that's that size. And so I've ended up with a lot of DX9 War in Pocket figures as a result. And I always kind of look at the Iron Factory ones. I think these do look superior, but I just can't bring myself to pull the trigger on buying them. But Max, you wanted to have a look at the stuff that was presented at the Shanghai convention. So this is their Jazz.
Yeah, my take on the whole size versus the price that you're paying thing is that with Iron Factory, it is a lot smaller, but at least in my experience, the density of the figures and the plastic that they use, as well as the actual
I don't disagree
the amount
either.
of engineering in there, it's like, it feels like you're getting the experience of a larger figure that you would pay that price for, but it's just taking up less room.
See, I get that. I understand that in principle, but then I look at the figure and I'm like, there is a massive gap. And I'm like, yes, they've managed to do the ankle tilts, but like, there's a massive gap where that foot actually meets the rest of the leg, and a lot of it, there are actually compromises to get that stuff to happen at that scale. Like, there's hands that are just generally like, very generic hands with a hole in the middle of it, and like, I understand it. You're meant to overlook it, but then when the price comes in at like, $30 or $40 a figure, I can't overlook it.
Yeah, especially like when we get to the Jetfire that they showed off, that's like $70 or so. And sure, it looks good, but $70 just it's not worth it.
The other thing, so this is their Warpath Burning Slug. The other thing that I find is that a lot of them, like a lot of the figures, use the same tricks, and they've all got very similar detailing. Like in very much the same way that you can always tell a Combiner Wars bot because of the, sort of the stylized lines on the vehicle modes. I find that Iron Factory, a lot of the figures all tend to look kind of the same after a while.
Yeah, they do. They've gotten this aesthetic and they're sticking to it. With the exception, I guess, of their female figures, where they go for this sort of chibi style thing, which always looks a bit odd.
So is this actually a female Seeker, Shriek's Feather?
Which on the one hand gets me really excited because it's more Seekers, and I love that Iron Factory Seeker mold, and it also seems like they're doing for more obscure Seekers. But on the other hand, they're doing it in this weird chibi style, like the big head and the big eyes. And for some reason, they've decided that because it's a female figure, they're just going to cut down on the posability.
Yeah, I see what you mean about the big head and the big eyes too. Yeah.
Yeah, so like they got rid of a bicep swivel, no wrist swivel, no waist swivel, and no thigh swivel, and all of that stuff was present on the rest of the Seekers that use this mold.
The same high heels.
No, but it's the same basic structure. It's like two separate pieces, but it's a lot lower down.
Okay.
Now this guy did well for Make Toys at full scale, and it's kind of interesting to see Iron Factory going for a small scale version of this guy. So for Make Toys, this guy was Hypernova, and this is Steel Lucifer for Iron Factory. I kind of feel like his alt mode is a bit of a mess, but sure.
Let's carry on the backpack.
Yeah. But it's certainly an interesting looking figure. It looks like it might be a little bit larger than most of their figures because there's sort of like a smaller inner bot by the looks of it.
Yeah, so this is like a retool of their Optimus Prime. So we've got like the way that Prime worked was they had a Stormbringer style inner Prime robot. Then that turned into the War Within Optimus Prime alt mode, which then if that combines with a trailer, I think it turned into God Jinrai. And then I guess this is just sort of similar, but in a Nova Prime sort of style.
Yeah. Let's move on. There's oh wow. Okay. So and a Shattered Glass sort of Optimus Prime, which this is sort of their War Within one, right?
That's the same skeleton, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the same, but this is pretty much a repaint of a Prime.
Yeah.
That's a retool, that's a repaint. So this guy, you can see the smaller body on the sort of the top left image, that's Prime from Stormbringer. Then the cab of the alt mode is Prime's alt mode from War Within. The alt mode trailer is just sort of a generic mess. And then a combined robot mode is God Jinrai.
Yeah, okay.
So we're just sort of homaging 3 different Primes at once.
So yeah, and they're wow, what is this guy? Is this guy another one that combines with Jetfire then as well?
Yeah,
looks like a Jetfire plane.
Yeah, another Jetfire combines with a Prime.
Yeah, so I'm guessing you can combine this Jetfire with their Prime. Engineering wise, this is kind of starting to get a little bit crazy, but yeah, impressive.
Yeah,
again, legend size
doesn't look $70 good. What this
get in hand though, or have a fiddle with it.
Maybe, yeah. And we did actually talk about this one, the DJD combiner that includes Tarn, but then they all combine into a giant Tarn. So okay,
like it's just combined to form me.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure that I need my DJD to combine, and also I've got a bunch of the MMC figures, but I know you're pretty up on this, Max.
Yeah, I was considering it just for an engineering thing, but I think just to see how it works in hand. But Probably I'd end up skipping it, just watching videos, because you just don't need 2 versions of a DJD running around. And
correct.
It's going to take
Is this still
space.
was that still Legends scale?
Each of the little bots is sort of Legends-ish scale. Like some of them are quite large, but yeah.
Have they been servicing? Have they been serviced in a larger scale, or is this a complete crew, as we've seen so far?
That's the crew. These guys aren't out yet.
Yeah, but is there a masterpiece scale or bigger bots, or is this is DJD?
Tiny.
Okay.
There's the Mastermind Creations ones, which is sort of classic scale.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess the
Chuck Voyager, the MMC ones.
Would probably be around deluxe size.
Yeah. That's right.
And then, I feel like it'd be interesting to see how well the Giant Tarn matches up next to the MMC Tarn as well, in terms of similar sizing.
It still looks tight for a combiner. Like, there's no real obvious ports on bots. It just, even if you sort of look at that gun, the gun's probably the weakest part because it has to be a figure that turns into a gun, but
correct.
It's a nice panel line and panels on it that sort of look good, and it all comes together as that character, which fantastic. But as you said, like, to get all these bots to combine when you just buy the MMC Tarn,
indeed,
and be done with it, and be done with it. So,
all right, going to move on. There's this last slide, which. These were Magic Square. I think they're a new company that are also making legend scale figures, and it's pretty impressive. In there, we can see what we can see: Inferno, Grapple, Cyclonus,
Ultra Magnus.
Is that an Ultra Magnus? Is that someone behind him with wings, or is it someone else?
No, that is their Ultra Magnus. No, we talked about an Ultra Magnus a few episodes ago. And this is their new reveal, which is that retooled into Power Master Prime. And it looks nothing like Power Master Prime.
He looks very Ultra Magnus, but yeah.
With wings.
And there's a couple of Stunticons there for good measure as well.
These look almost like Masterpiece-alike. It'd be interesting to see how well they transform in hand and if they've got any fragility issues, because they look on par with some of the Masterpiece and third-party figures that have been coming out.
We talked earlier about the Legend scale figures and how well Generations were doing. Well, now we're going to get G1 versions of those figures, minus the head in the cockpit, but in the driver's seat. But I just love that Inferno and Grapple are here because they are 2 figures that have been shit on by Hasbro. So I'm good to see them here.
Now, I just said that there looks like a couple of Stunticons there, but is that actually Sideswipe and Mirage?
No, that's Dragstrip.
Yes,
it looks like Dragstrip.
That's just the Dragstrip and
definitely
breakdown alt modes.
Breakdown, yeah, cool. So they've done a couple of Stunticons. Presumably they'll do the others as well.
Yeah, they showed a silhouette of them in the store, I think.
Yeah.
Right. And there's no sign of them combining, which I love. They don't have to combine. Let's just do the 6 or the 5. Do the teams.
They do, but I see what you mean when you say that. Yeah, it is good that it doesn't look like it.
Yeah.
I think what you mean is that the aesthetics of the figure have not been compromised for their combining ability.
And there's third-party dedicated combiners that may miss things in individual mode, but look good in combined mode, and they can stand there combined, and you can have these little guys standing around them as their individual modes. But that's me, and only me. So,
all right, we're at the end of the news. Let's move on to new acquisitions now. Brad, you're quite fast for this section tonight.
There's a trend here. There's a bad trend here.
Brad has no new figures. Max, what have you got new?
Right, so I was at a local trade day recently, and I was just on one of the tables there. Some guy was selling a custom Titans Return blur done up like the Takara version for $10. So I figured, what the hell?
Yeah.
Turned out really well. Like, I would prefer to have a Takara version, all things considered, but for $10, this is perfectly fine. And
it's got more paint than the original release, so you're already winning.
It certainly does. He's added that on.
And it's got a bit of chips here and there, but like I said, $10 can't go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then also grab this guy off Dylan, which is a complete G1 quick switch.
Interesting. Now, weren't we talking about this guy last week, or something to do with his engineering for the triple changes or the 6 changes? Maybe it was the week before.
I don't know. I wasn't on then, so I can't.
You're talking Great Shot.
Maybe, yeah.
Great Shot. Because it says it's him, 6 shot, and Great Shot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. 6s. Chris was talking about it.
I had quick switch as a kid, and that figure does hold a special place in my heart. It is kind of a bit crap because none of the modes are particularly good, but it's still like it's an engineering feat to have a 6 changer.
Yeah, it's charming. I'll say that.
That seems accurate. Yeah.
And finally, just because also from Dylan, I always like the colors on this thing and wanted to see how at least one of these works. I picked up Activator's Dirge from Transformers Animated.
Oh, nice. Oh.
And so this is back when one-step changes were good. It's basically you put in a couple extra motions, just flip a couple of bits around.
4,
and then
5, 6.
Stop that.
7.
And there's just this little tab here that I press in and goes
8.
like that.
Yeah, nice.
But then it's
just his rabbit mode.
It works out really well. So it's about as posable as the average Generations Legends figure now.
It still looks on par with the cartoon now. It's fantastic.
It does. Animated is amazing.
Yeah, they've done so well.
I just need to see how this thing worked, because even the one-step changes that you buy on shelves now, like you still have to do extra steps for some of those. But with this guy, he looks and works like a fully functional figure. It just has this little transformation gimmick.
At the end,
I didn't get a lot of the activators in my animated collection. I ignored the little guys and went for deluxe and above. I do have. You can't see it in the You can't see it in the picture. You can just see it in the picture now. About there. There's a transparent. Oh, there we go. There's a little transparent Optimus Prime activator. He's the transparent one. They called the Cool. He came from a Japanese exclusive, but yeah, that's I think the only activator in my collection from animated.
Yeah, this is the only animated figure in my collection.
Oh,
a bit of a curiosity.
That's a shame. We need to get you more animated figures.
You need an education, boy.
Yeah.
I've owned some stuff from that line, and there is good stuff there. It's just a matter of what would I rather be collecting, and there's a fair bit of other stuff that takes precedence.
All right, I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna take very long. I got this figure. We were talking about getting this last week. Picked up the last night. This is the only time I've actually sought out a last night toy for Nitro, or as he's known in the movie, Nitro Zeus. And the reason is because I've torn his head off and replaced him with Thunderwings, Titan Master from the Siege on Cybertron set, and he looks awesome.
I took this as a typo earlier. Please, Thunderwing. What?
It's a character from a G1 comics.
He's not from the G1. He's not from the G1 comics. He's a G1 pretender.
Okay, enough said.
He's a latter day G1 figure. I was wondering why you were just like typo. No, like Thunderwing is a legit character, but yeah. So
well, you're talking. Oh, I've got Nitro Zeus, and now it's going to be Thunderwing. I'm like, you said Nitro Zeus. Anyway, is that one of the Titans, the Titan heads?
So this is the Titan head from the Siege on Cybertron set. He's a die-cast metal figure for Thunderwing, but there's no Thunderwing in Titan's Return. So yeah, like some of the sets, or some of the figures that are only Titan Master heads, poor Thunderwing has no body until now. When someone just happened to make a headmaster in the Last Night line that seems to suit his G1. It actually suits his Pretender shell rather than his inner robot, but through the years of Transformers lore, his Pretender shell appearance has become more synonymous with him, sort of like Bludgeon in a way, in fact.
Yeah.
Now,
that figure has no right to work as well as it does.
Look, there are things about it that do not work very well. Like there's very, very limited range of movement around the feet. He's got, he's sort of got, sort of fairly statically molded fists and stuff. He is a Voyager figure, so he should be better than this. But it's just, I think, and sorry, I keep hitting the microphone with him. It's just, I think that the body and the chest design and like the legs actually do move all right, like that, and they do rotate around. And like there's some rotation in the arms as well, but like he's got a lot of back kibble, but whatever. He looks.
I do love the way those pods on the back fold up, though.
Yeah, that's quite good. Yeah.
Yep.
That face, Thunderwing.
That face, like looking here on this little crappy camera, the color, like it matches Nitro's like the creamy color or white color pretty well, and even the unibrow.
It's okay, but not quite.
Yeah, the unibrow matches like his black torso parts as well. So
it'd be interesting to see because there was one of the companies out of China teased a oversized and improved Nitro Zeus knockoff. So I would love to see if they could include, like, do another version where they include a Thunderwing head and do them up in Thunderwing colors.
Well, that'd be like isn't there a Scorn? There's a bigger Scorn already done that's 100 times better than the original figure.
The Voyager one from the Last Night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that might be Age of Extinction. I might be thinking of.
I've got the oversized knockoff Age of Extinction Scorn, which is a hell of a lot better. It doesn't have any like molding changes, but it's sort of it's got die cast in it, and they fixed all the loose joints on it. So,
do you have the Last Night Scorn, or you haven't seen it yet?
The Last Night Scorn, I've seen it and just skipped on it because the knockoff version of the original was perfectly acceptable for me.
Okay, all right, yep, all right,
cool.
Like, maybe if they do a KO of the new version, I might upgrade to that. But for the time being, this is it.
Yeah.
All right. Some TCCA business to round us out. There is no Supernova this weekend in Brisbane. Unfortunately, we couldn't afford it this year, and so one of the two events so we could only afford to do one event in November. So we went with Adelaide. So Max and crew will be hosting 2 tables at Adelaide Supernova next weekend. So if you are a South Australian listener, please do head out and go see him.
Yeah, please come along. It is always, it's good to sign people up to the club and garner interest at events, but it's also always a hell of a lot of fun to see people who are already members.
Yeah, Max will be handing out free candles for South Australian residents on the day.
Cool. I love we haven't had a blackout in like a whole week.
Oh, it's coming. Don't worry.
Brad, do you want to put the camera presentation on yourself and talk about the Christmas donation drive?
I need to do that. Yes, Christmas donation drive is currently up and running. Masterpiece Megatron, Shockwave, Sunstreaker, the official side. Plus, we got some Titans Return. I think the Titans Return. Octane and Blitzwing and Overlord, plus some third-party bots like I showed earlier with TFCon exclusive Mirage and Veteran War Dogs. So donations $5, T's and C's, and Full information is over on the Transformers website at transformerscca.com under the competitions tag.
Fantastic. I think we're at the end of the show. Does anyone have anything else we need to cover off?
I think we're done for the week.
We're done. All right. Thank you for listening. If you are watching along with a live record, thank you for watching and participating. Find out more about these stories. You'll find links to them all in the show notes, and those notes are posted to the Transformers Weekly Facebook page and Podbean site. And if you are listening in a suitable podcatcher, they should be attached to your podcast. If you want to get in touch with us, there's a few ways to do so, and we do love listener feedback. Our official site is on Podbean. That's transformersweekly.podbean.com. Facebook page is called Australian Transformers Weekly, and we're all individually in Transformers Collectors Club Australia on Facebook. If you are not already subscribed, you can find the podcast on iTunes, Pocket Casts, YouTube, and other podcatchers of choice and distinction. And there is an RSS feed link on the website and in the show notes. Our new companion podcast, Transformers Legends, they cover a lot of younger skewed stuff that we probably don't talk about that much on this podcast. You can find that at tflpod.podbean.com, and you'll also see the video for it posted to the Transformers Collectors Club Australia YouTube channel. As you might gather from the fact that we mention it a lot, Australian Transformers Weekly is a production of Transformers Collectors Club Australia. The club is registered and incorporated in Victoria. TCCA is run by volunteers who donate their time and money to make the club better for everyone. So our goal is to connect Transformers fans around the country, and we do it by engaging the collecting community. If you would like to donate and support us, we would love to have you join the club and become a paid member. You can find the details at transformerscca.com. Membership starts at just $5 a year. Thank you for listening, everyone, and we will be back with more Transformers news next week.
See you guys.
There's always that awkward pause before you guys say goodbye.